I'm speaking. I'll keep talking. Here
Is
I
my
go.
sound good as well? Is our sound fine?
Once upon a time, there was a studio in the SABC.
All right.
There I was, sitting on a chair on a stage.
Sitting on the beach, staring at the sun.
There you go, and talking because I was told to talk.
Talking because we are told to talk. Talk,
I
talk.
assume I will be told when not to talk.
Test the talk. Test the talk. We will be told when we start.
I will keep on.
Okay, will the sun open up the stage? It's showtime, everybody. Quiet on set, all cell phones off, please. Or at least on silent, yeah?
Camera's rolling.
Okay, slate in 3, 2, 1. Good luck.
Working the 4 o'clock morning shift at Frankfurt Airport. I'm not sure if my sleepy state of mind or the sunrise make me feel like in the movie Blade Runner. The wide air over the runway, watching the reflection of lights in the large glass panes while I listen to the building, waking up. Notice the way upholstery is worn down in places of work. A bus driver's or a pilot's seat, or checking counters and supermarket cashiers' places show different areas of wear and tear. Passports come mostly in shades of blue, green, or red. Passengers carry them in different ways, squashed in the back pocket of jeans, between stacks of papers, or neatly sorted in transparent plastic folders, handling them with reverence. Airports are containers of experiences, similar to railway station and bus terminals. It's a magic space, and not many people know that. Runways are off limits because gravitation fluctuates there, synchronized with the starting and the landing of planes. I once saw a pigeon trapped in Algiers airport. It's a magic space. It's a magic space. It's a magic space. Airports are containers of experience. Our family holidays in Beirut were affordable because my dad worked for Middle East Airlines. Every summer, happiness was simple routines, packing small red cardboard suitcases. On board, we'd order rolls, spread the butter, and topped with sugar. Time slows down in airports and shifts attention to the sense of passing time. Standing in queues, waiting for passports and security checks, waiting for boarding.
Waiting and waiting, waiting and waiting.
When my dad went on business trips to Saudi Arabia in the 80s, he'd record Super 8 films. Endless pans of desert spaces, alternating with views of the sea. The window of the car is dusty. The focus shifts between the reflecting glass and an endless blur interspersed by blue and white. Low houses, then back to the rhythm of telephone poles. The car slows down. A flock of sheep fill the street. The driver in the front seat turns. His mouth fills the screen with inaudible words. They alight at a port where old those from another time sink endlessly. As he films empty space, I hear his voice. In a 4-second segment, a dialogue between the sea and the boats unravels. The change of light, the sinking and surge of the waves. I once was a pigeon trapped in Algiers airport. In airports, the sun of advertisements is up 24/7. There's a Carlito Brigante in all of us, transfixed by the Caribbean sunset billboard, Escape to Paradise. The extended wing of an aircraft is an empty sheet of paper, its end curled up into the sky. I should have mailed it a while ago. It's just not ready yet.
Attention everyone at Oslo Airport. For security reasons, please look after your personal belongings and do not leave any baggage unattended.
To Istanbul. Final call for all remaining passengers to go immediately to gate Contact 3.
İstanbul'a giden 1996 sefer sayılı Türk Hava Yolları'nın uçağı geriye kalan yolcular için son çağrı. Hemen 23 numaralı uçağa
Stockholm Airport has closed until tomorrow morning. Will all passengers on SAS flight 108 depart at 30:30 and for information
We kindly ask all remaining passengers of flight Air France 1 Airways regret to announce to proceed to the exit now.
1.5 meters from other persons.
Keep a distance.
Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, Ihr Eurowings-Flug IB 9043 nach Düsseldorf ist nun zum Einsteigen bereit. Wir beginnen mit dem Boarding der Gruppe 1 auf der rechten Seite. Gäste der Gruppe 2 nutzen die linke Seite. Bitte halten Sie Ihre...
The Formica tables in the Lufthansa employees meeting form a square. The wiped clean wooden laminate rectangles assemble each night, guarding a lone computer terminal. Seated on a worn-out chair, I enter passenger details during the night shift. Orange molded plastic chairs on corroded metal yawn intermittently. As the green LED cursor blinks Morse code, pulsating like an ocean lighthouse, the tables begin to hover slightly, holding hands in a silent saraband. Underneath, the gray carpet squares begin to gyrate slowly. Their movement swallows the fluorescent light trickling down in thin dust, interrupted only by flashes of passing vehicles. Shadows form unique constellations on the styrofoam ceiling. The large glass panes vibrate before any sound is heard. Only staff processing international travel is allowed to enter this room. Overlooking the runway, its yellowing fiber splines sway, conditioned air fondling the beaded strip. The mix of oil, kerosene, and rubber. It reminds me of airport elevators. That's where I noticed it first. Escalators secrete a similar smell, faintly only. Extended rubber tongues lick away at moving walkways, rubber belts girdle check-in counters. Stretching out, these belts form an endless tape, a treadmill of moving parts, a sewing machine that stitches together travelers' lives. Algiers airport trapped me in a pigeon's body.
Extended rubber arms, extended rubber arms, extended rubber arms.
The gray squares in the center of the table start to hover in an oscillating movement, sizzle and undulate, carpet tiles floating apart. My eyes catch flashes of light in the reflection of chrome legs as their slow dance accelerates into a spiraling vortex. I feel the air current against my shins, exposed between socks and uniform, this hissing smell of elevators in my ears. The building showed me once, it's at night, its inner organs. How liquid rubber rises from its inner core, lava-like, bubbles up the elevator shafts, a trickle at first, then flows down over conveyor belts into deeply furrowed gutters where it's sucked in again, pounded to a malleable dough, flattened and spewed out to strap people into their seats, to carry baggage, to hoist elevator cabins up and down, up and down. It takes me down to the restricted baggage sorting area in the deep, as it explains that this mechanism was not built to transport people or things, but to connect lives and to tear them apart again, constantly moving them a perpetuum mobile, sucking in people goodbyes, tears, and happy welcome back shouts. It speaks to me, this gigantic organism which hovers over our lives, draws them in and processes them, feeds on people, funnels them into aircraft and spies on them as they pass, scans them, weighs them, and picks up their smells. In my line of work, people think about air travel and security when they surrender their baggage. But I know it impregnates suitcases and turns them to eggs. Traveling bags and trunks glued onto conveyor belts like utricles, hard shells, compacting invisible fertilized eggs, which will hiss at the slightest touch at the destination. No, this is not luggage, but bladder sacks enclosing the airport's seeds. They are poured into scanners, sniffed and sorted as the airport decides who matches whom. So, it's no coincidence when shuttles accelerate, or escalators and elevators slow down, or leaking roofs interrupt the passage. It's the airport, arranging for people to bump into each other as if by accident. Having matched them, it waits for the offspring which it will accept as its own. It watches over us as we pass and probes for signs of happiness or fear, detects sense of distress, and takes care we arrive safely. My parents were a match made by an airport as their baggage was sorted. It knew how long to delay the boom gate at the pickup to ensure they would end up in the same car.
How long to delay the gate, delay the gate, delay the gate, delay the gate, and you how long to delay the gate.
In the empty night, a lonely bag circles a carousel. A sports bag made of black nylon closed by a zipper. Just like the one I have, large enough to carry a few things, a towel maybe, swimming goggles, and a change of clothes. It sits on the tiles around the swimming pool. I open the bag. I see a brain, pulsating like a heart. Blue veins run across the gray surface. A trickle of blood spills on the tiles. It is still now, listening.
You know how long to delay the gaze. Delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, I once was trapped. I once was trapped. I once was trapped. I once was trapped. Boarding passes, boarding passes, private classes, boarding passes, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay the plane, delay my life. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay, delay. Do not leave your baggage unattended. Do not leave your baggage unattended, or else your flight will be delayed.
We are here now. You called. We're here. إحنا هنا. Silapa, nous sommes ici. Tuko hapa. Wir sind hier. Remona.
Wir sind hier.
We are here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nochmal.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Jetzt bremst die Frequenz, die Kinder alle schreien, we are here. We are here!
Ah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Nochmal. Wie bitte? 3, 2, 1. We are here!
Yes, we can hear you too. You're just a little bit low.
Cool.
I'm sure they will put you on higher just now. We can see you.
You know, we are not that you hear us. We just said we are here.
We can hear you.
We can hear you very low only. Is there a way of making the signal a bit higher?
Yeah, the monitors are really low.
Okay.
We will get there.
What?
Yes.
I think it's on your side. Not on
Now
our
it works
side.
well. Yeah, you were a bit low. Hello.
One more time. 3, 2, 1. We are here! We just wanted to demonstrate our being here in the space. Yeah.
Yes.
To see the audience.
Where are they? There.
Yes, we can see you.
Thanks a lot for the performance, and it was quite exciting to have a live moment here, I must say.
Great.
It was really quite, we like welcome you in our space here. I try to keep out because I have to be close to the monitor, but do you think there's still a moment on first hand, I wanted to introduce you quickly to everybody who's not in the space and already met you. So we just experienced the performance, which was broadcast live to us, called iPassenger, a collaboration between Fuad Asfour and Tracy September. To introduce you briefly, the musician, researcher, DJ, and performing artist Tracy September sonically experiments and explores characters, characteristics, and histories, working around themes of spirit, memory, and protest. She has a particular passion for improvisation, collaboration, and connection. Thanks a lot. And Fuad Asfour is a writer and researcher working in collaborative frameworks on publications, exhibitions, performance, and art exchange projects. Practicing border writing as a means of dislocating identities, they recently accomplished to get lost in displaced notes and fragments. Yeah. I'm curious what happens when you find when you refine the notes, and if it changes the order of your way of performing, yeah, of your text. So how is a non-linear way of writing possible, and how do you perform that?
Is that a question, Ricarda?
Yes, I thought I'd step in a question. Do we still have a few minutes to ask?
Yes, we have now a little time for Q&A. Can I say first thank you to all the students of the ASE who did the most, organizing the stage, the sound, the lights. And thank you to the sounding research team on your side to make this possible. That's really fantastic.
Yeah, it is exciting to have you here like this.
And yeah, it's also thanks a lot for the like technical support. It's really great to have the Academy of Sound Engineering and yeah, as a technical support. Otherwise, we would have been quite nervous on this side.
Right. So yeah, it was really. So you asked about nonlinear writing.
Yeah, yeah. If there's a possibility to ask a few questions now. I mean,
yeah, no, definitely. That's the idea. For me, nonlinear writing is like, it's all about sound. Like what we were working on in previous collaboration about how much readable are fragments that are not necessarily connected, but that the viewer adds in the bit in between. And just now in the break, we were speaking about music and sound, how music where the viewer has to, the listener has to add to it is always more interesting and also enjoying for the listener, I think. Must I continue?
No, just if you like. I mean, here, like everybody's also invited to or welcome to come close and ask a question if you feel like.
I get signals from backstage. I have to elaborate.
Okay, please.
So I came to writing to save my life. And it is like a thing of, if you start writing notes that are disconnected, it really becomes something of a form of learning about things you can't really know. And thanks go out to my partner and who also financed this project, Professor Charlene Kahn, because she has been financing my studies and my life for the longest time and has been quite patient with me doing the writing and the reading. And well, that was part of a creative writing MA at Rhodes in Makanda at that time. And we kind of, in the collaboration with other writers, found out how, when you put together fragments, other pieces emerge. And that was basically for quite a while really an interesting field where we, between writers, started to collaborate. And then there was a point in time where I was at a reading performance in Zurich, and South African poet Koleka Putuma was reading from her poetry, and Tracy September was performing the music. And I thought, like, that's what I want to try out. How can sound respond to writing? And so we started to engage in this exchange, sending texts, sending sounds, trying to find out how can there be a dialogue, and how is text sound and how is sound text.
And Tracy, when you appear, like perform here together with Fuad in this dialogical way, do you really kind of I just wonder, yeah, what is with the improvisation and spontaneity in a dialogue or in a conversation? Yeah, like, are you also sometimes interrupting or, you know, trying to take over the conversation, or is it a very kind of, you know, how is this dialogue happening, yeah, between sound and text?
I think it's all about listening, you know. I think I have like to sort of transpose the idea of fragmented writing. I just listen to what Fuad is saying, and I have all these like tools in my chamber, and then whatever he says, that the words that jump out at me somehow become part of, I hear them and then I sound them in the way that resonates to me. So it's still kind of, I'm fragmentingly writing as he's reading, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And could that also be called a continuous way of writing for it? I mean, is it an ongoing, is it an open form of writing also in the moment where the sound comes in as well?
Yeah, I must say it's really a different experience. So this whole thing is also about border writing, trying to think how can you write out borders that you have in your body which you have learned through school, through identity. You learn a language, you learn writing in the language, and you learn this grammar. Everything has to be perfect. So your body, unknowingly, you continuously enact borders. And so for me, it was a challenge because I think sound brings out, we enjoy sound, I think, because it works across those borders of identities, across the borders of what you kind of have learned. You know, like, you all know when you listen to music and you're young and it's these US American songs and you just create the lyrics, like we had that song, Hey Now, sing, we called it Say Mr. Ocean to Me. But the lyrics are sing this corrosion to me. So we all create our lyrics on top, right? So there is a not bound, or let's say popular culture, in cultural production that's outside of the regulated space that is schooled. I think there is this form where you can insert yourself in a much more free way. And I'm trying to do that in the writing, trying to bring my body and all its disturbances, where I'm from, the languages I heard when I was little, growing up in Offenbach, between Arabic, I had Egyptian schoolmates, Croatian, Yugoslavian, Spanish, you name it. So there was always a plurivocally, is that right? Yes. So there was always so many voices and sounds, and it was not containable, and that's also what I enjoy about that. Perhaps I must add also that this performance is on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of the agreement between Germany and Turkey on Germany. So there was a whole right-wing series of murders between 2000 and 2009 that haven't been uncovered, and then only after all the evidence pointed towards German perpetrators, the police started to investigate. And it's really these kind of issues that pushed me to write and to think, how can I write about border experiences? And I would like to also hear from Tracy how you work between sounds, languages, and basically bodily knowledge.
I trust the reaction of my intuition. So the muscle that I exercise the most is my intuition. So as I'm listening to you, I'm intuitively absorbing the words that resonate with my intuition. So likewise with language. For instance, I can sing in many languages that I don't speak, because my intuition is like, oh, this is how you should say this. This is how you should do this. So it really just comes from, that's why I said it's listening. It's listening. It's actually the active, constant, eternal practice of listening, and listening to everything. Listening to, I don't really like that. And listening to, ooh, I don't know what that is, or ooh, I don't know what this feeling is. So it's this constant practice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I must say. Yeah, I think it's really a special experience to try to move through the world while listening. I think it's a different way you experience also the question of your own physical presence when you Fuad, when you talk about the body as a form of membrane, then more than this kind of also here, not also only the open form in the spatial way to write, but also how do you experience the outside, and the inside being there, and the movement permanently from inside outside, being here and there at the same time, which is the quality of the sound. So it's great to think of how to gain trust, and maybe the way how to gain it is to start to listen, not only hearing but to listen. that's, yeah, I could imagine that is a good way. Sorry, you look like you would like to say something, Fuad, please.
No, I just wanted to ask also, like, for me, writing at that time was much more also about reading out loud what you wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And then you notice, like, wow, why do I say that? You know, like, you have ways of saying something like, I have to break this habit. You know, like, so there are, like, ways of phrasing things that might be violent without you knowing it. And so for me, writing is also like, how can I push this use of language to another use of language? So it's also part of what we are discussing in terms of biomythography, which is a concept which was discussed with writers at the Black Feminist Reading Group at the Rhodes University, also with Charlene at that time, which was basically initiated by Charlene as part of a project, Art on Our Mind. And I learned so much there in terms of how can you write yourself out of something. So I wanted to know, do you sound yourself out of habits or out of things or into something?
I speak to myself out loud all the time. You know, this is part of how just to hear myself, you know, it's also part of the listening. I often kind of play the game of like good guy, bad guy, or, you know, the good angel this side, just to hear different voices and constantly listening to what resonates the most, going back to that. So I think it is important to take it outside of your body, you know, because sometimes the internal dialogue, whatever it is, if it's purely inside your body, sometimes you can't be objective, because the resonance inside your body is also like hindered by other factors like your experiences, your socialization, your conditioning, all of that. And then sometimes when you just throw it out of your body and it lands somewhere else, you're like, oh, is that what I said? You know? So right. I think that's also part of the process.
You play with that in your performance as well?
All the time. All the time. Because I'm listening to myself as I'm performing, you know? So I'm like, okay, I could actually push my voice higher here. Okay, no, let me go there, because now my body is, I'm listening to something else happening that's like, oh, I'm feeling this. Oh, this is nice. But if I'm just singing in my head, I wouldn't know that, you know? Or even if you speak to a friend, you may have a particular idea. So I think as much as you're listening inside your body, you should also take it outside and kind of this constant inner-outer conversation.
Yeah. What if you hear something you
like is not to always look for the answer, but to try and ask better questions. So if I'm like, okay, I don't like what I heard, I wonder where that came from, and then start questioning that as opposed to focusing on how much I didn't like it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I also like the way you describe it, because it blurs the boundaries between, you know, the rehearsal and the performance. So it's like a permanent rehearsal actually also. Yeah, that's maybe the improvisational aspect also. Yeah.
And not fearing the mistake, you know.
Yeah.
Because the mistake is part of the process. So going back to the trust, it's trusting the process.
Yeah. Yeah, we also trusted the process before, I must say, because when you had your rehearsal, we stepped in here and kind of used it as a form of, you know, practice as well. I was reading the text you were sending me, Fuad, while you were rehearsing, and whenever you made a break, I stepped in and read. So without you knowing, we had a parallel performance, and it had a live moment actually, because you were live and we were live.
Awesome.
And yeah, that was we had like 2 performances already.
That's wow.
That was really nice. And we saw you writing, while you were listening. So I hope we will hear a bit more about that practice as well. Yeah, the listening writing aspect you bring in there also, Fuad.
Yeah, the writing, right. I think maybe the writing is like in a way how when Tracy speaks about sound, like I try to listen, I make these kind of exercises trying to listen, how does it sound when I'm writing? Is it angry? Is it frustrated? Is it tired? What's the rhythm? And you can actually even stop thinking what you are writing, stop looking at language and just like do the manual scribbles and feel the rhythm of your hand moving, and then you think like, oh, okay, that's a nice beat, and go on. And I think actually, yeah, for me, this is something I want to further explore in ways of how is writing, like for me, writing is like, when you are scratching your way out of some rubble. So for me, sometimes the sound of me writing is like, you are scraping, you're like, because you can't see. You can only see when you write. For me, and maybe for you as a musician, maybe you see when you sound. I don't know how visual artists work with it, but for me, it's a lot in the medium.
Funny enough, I do a lot of reading and writing before. I like to collect words and texts and then writing all the words that inspire me from all the different things. And somehow they come together in a way that I don't understand, but I also don't need to understand it.
Yeah, it's really nice to have a kind of get an insight a bit more of your way of working, yeah, and approaching like the listening sound and the writing here. And I don't know what I look at it's 10 to 4. I feel under pressure because you said you have to leave the space at 4. Is it still fine? Everybody's relaxed still. So I would ask maybe here in the round.
If there are questions, we are happy to answer. I think we still have 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm sure the students will kick us out.
Okay. I asked the students here if you have a question to ask. Please come. They don't dare to step in.
I can continue speaking because what Tracy
They're too busy listening.
Yeah, and actually we had already a few terms before, I must say. I would like you to ask, but because you had this term of the biomythographical narratives, yeah, and we tried to solve it here in the round. What could that be? Yeah, so it was quite into what it raises. But what would you? How would you? Where does this term come from, or how is it?
Well,
which role does it play in
the term comes from...
I can't hear you so well.
Okay. Am I on mic? Can you hear me now?
No, we lost you.
Oh, that's fine. I will do my... Can you hear me now? Am I on mic now? Maybe, maybe this thing also...
Okay. Something happened.
It just stopped. Is it okay if you put me on the wireless one? Or I will use
Do you want to grab this one?
I think this...
We see that you talk.
So yeah, thank you for that question. Oh, now I hear myself. Wow. That's so great. I know why. Am I on that mic too? On both? I want two mics. Okay. Yeah. So, biomythography is basically a term Audre Lorde speaks about in an interview with Carla Jay with respect to the novel Zami, where Audre Lorde basically rewrites their own life. And it's really something that is, I found a revelation. And I said, we discussed this in the Art on Our Mind, Black Feminist Killjoy reading group, where we said, how can you rewrite things that you have accepted, but you didn't have a choice, right? So you can rewrite by just refusing to follow the script that has been given to you. And then it becomes a practice of liberation, of emancipation, of what you want to call. But it's also outside of understanding. That's something I wanted to respond to. Because for me, I think understanding is something that is always being put onto us as we have to understand or we have to be intelligible. But most of the time we are not. I mean, we don't understand ourselves, to be honest. In actual fact, we don't understand ourselves. So that's fine. So then we can just, I think, accept it and go with it. And that's why I think these kind of collaborations really are insightful, because you then in a dialogue with someone else. So for me, it's a dialogue with the paper when I write, and then there's a dialogue with other artists, visual artists, sound artists, photographers, also in my teaching practice. I don't know if you want to add something. You were nodding.
Well, I'm just agreeing with you in the sense that going back to what I was saying about understanding that I don't need to understand everything. I'm kind of over understanding. I'm more into acceptance, surrender, and diving further from a place of not knowing. And yeah, I think that's it, actually. I don't have much else to add to that.
And I don't know, can you hear me now?
No.
No, maybe I'm on their side.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's intriguing.
Oops.
I don't know if that mic is
Do you want to take this one?
okay. No. I just thought maybe, Ricarda, you could perhaps also speak from your own practice as an artist to that.
We will postpone that, but what I was definitely thinking of our shared interest in the way Edouard Glissant describes the understanding, not as a form you grasp something and, you know, make it to your possession, but something you'd rather give on and with, yeah? So to understand is not, yeah, it's a different movement, yeah, if you perform it, yeah? It's not that grasping and taking in possession, but really, you know, opening up and, yeah. So I like that that idea of you know that the not knowing is your situatedness of if you want, so yeah, of where you start from. You know? So if we ask from where do we speak, we could also say we speak from the position of not knowing. Yeah? It's an interesting place to position yourself to giving on and with, probably. To try to understand. That's how I would probably.
To try not to understand. Not to want to.
No, it's not that I don't try to understand, but it's not that I think I know already.
Yeah. So also to the group, I'm looking forward, guys, on Monday we will do the workshop. Yeah.
Great. We look forward to that too. And I think for today, it's really a very rich and nice and exciting program we could participate. And thanks a lot to all of you.
Thank you for being there, co-organizing this. You were also really making this possible by framing it. So, but many thanks to you guys and your team.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Are you guys getting this now?
Okay. That sounds good. Okay, we say goodbye then, yeah?
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.